essentially what happens in a stress cycle is that we start off and we are under a very heavy stress load. And we do our self-reg, we look at the 5 domains, and there's a lot of stresses going on. The problem is that a shift occurs and the body starts to become a source of stress in its own right. And this is something that's going on at even a cellular level. And so the example that we're going to talk about in July is the example of obesity as a stress cycle. Now you can understand why this is so serious, because now the body itself, we call this the difference between endogenous and exogenous stresses. So originally the stress load was exogenous. It was the stresses were coming from outside. But now the stresses start to come from inside. They become endogenous. And so the example we're going to talk about in July is the example of obesity, where there are changes that occur right down to the adipose tissue, which creates a huge stress in its own right. This is why it is so difficult to break a stress cycle, whether it's obesity, depression, an anxiety disorder. And that's where self-reg is enormously helpful, because what we do is, we start chipping away where we can. And, we chip away, we reduce, we figure out what are the stresses and how can we reduce those stresses. And so you can break a stress cycle, but it has to be done with, eyes open, eyes fully open, understanding what's going on, and understanding that what's within my power now is to reframe the various impulses that I'm experiencing, seeing them as part of this stress cycle, and then beginning to reduce my stress load, beginning to develop techniques so that I can, in fact, become calm again. And that will poise me, that will set me all up for what we're going to be talking about in July, which is how then I can go on to restore.